A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life. The love for all living creatures is the most noble attribute of man. If the misery of the poor be caused not by the laws of nature, but by our institutions, great is our sin. Ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge. It is those who know little, not those who know much, who so positively assert that this or that problem will never be solved by science. We stopped looking for monsters under our bed when we realized that they were inside us. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change. The highest possible stage in moral culture is when we recognize that we ought to control our thoughts. Intelligence is based on how efficient a species became at doing the things they need to survive. An American monkey, after getting drunk on brandy, would never touch it again, and thus is much wiser than most men. In the long history of humankind, and animal kind too, those who learned to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed. Besides love and sympathy, animals exhibit other qualities connected with the social instincts, which in us would be called moral. Man selects only for his own good, nature only for that of the being which she tends. Great is the power of steady misrepresentation. Man, in his arrogance, thinks himself a great work, worthy of the interposition of a deity. More humble, and I believe truer, to consider him created from animals. If I had my life to live over again, I would have made a rule to read some poetry and listen to some music at least once every week. Blushing is the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. There is no fundamental difference between man and animals in their ability to feel pleasure and pain, happiness and misery. Freedom of thought is best promoted by the gradual illumination of men's minds which follows from the advance of science. To kill an error is as good a service as, and sometimes even better than, the establishing of a new truth or fact. It is always advisable to perceive clearly our ignorance. If it wasn't for seasickness, all the world would be sailors. A fair result can be obtained only by fully stating and balancing the facts and arguments on both sides of each question. Man is developed from an ovule about 125th of an inch in diameter, which differs in no respect from the ovules of other animals. A man's friendships are one of the best measures of his worth. Only picture to yourself a nice, soft wife on a sofa with good fire and books and music. We must, however, acknowledge, as it seems to me, that man, with all his noble qualities, still bears in his bodily frame the indelible stamp of his lowly origin. We are always slow in admitting any great change of which we do not see the intermediate steps. We are not here concerned with hopes or fears, only with truth, as far as our reason permits us to discover it. A scientific man ought to have no wishes, no affections, a mere heart of stone. It is difficult to believe in the dreadful but quiet war lurking just below the serene facade of nature. Englishmen rarely cry except under the pressure of the acutest grief, whereas in some parts of the continent the men shed tears much more readily and freely. It is necessary to look forward to a harvest, however distant that may be, when some fruit will be reaped, some good effected. A moral being is one who is capable of reflecting on his past actions and their motives, of approving of some and disapproving of others. Sexual selection acts in a less rigorous manner than natural selection. The latter produces its effects by the life or death at all ages of the more or less successful individuals. The limit of man's knowledge in any subject possesses a high interest, which is perhaps increased by its close neighborhood to the realms of imagination.